That change is made. Dave Bartoo, College Football Matrix, joins us on 365 Sports. So did you kind of look and get a feel from a few of the storylines coming out of Vegas the last couple of days in the Big 12? And if yes, anything that maybe popped your attention a little bit more than others?
No, nothing in particular. This is our busy time of year. July, it's dead period. So I'm literally in between flights right now, whether it's NFL or college football. This is go time, but I wouldn't mind weighing in on some storylines. What are we talking about, Dave?
Listen, one of the things I saw last night was Deion telling recruits that if they want to commit to Colorado, to be prepared to have their rankings dropped. What were your thoughts about that one?
Be prepared to have so Deion's complaining that Colorado players are being targeted, and they're actually better players than the rankings. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, the quarterback is what, Julian Lewis?
Okay. So let me tell you my immediate reaction to hearing that. That tells me if this team wins above expectations, and I think right now their total is what, 5.5? It's not coaching. That's my recruits that are under-recruited. We didn't coach them up. They were underranked. See, and to me, a guy who says my guys are being underranked doesn't care about his coaching staff, doesn't care about coaching them up. He cares about the perception of him as a recruiter, because you know what an AD is not going to do? AD is not going to hire a guy that people go, oh, he doesn't improve recruiting. He's not that good of a recruiter. It's all flash, all shine, no substance. So to me, when he's complaining about that, he's trying to set himself up for a better job. He's not here saying, hey, I got a good staff. I don't care what you rank my guys. We're going to out-coach everybody in the Big 12. No, it's about him and the perception he has on how he recruits. Sounds like a completely selfish way to go.
He also said that they are prepared to dominate. Dave, and look, this is your realm of expertise, but I still think he's got to get some continuity in the coaching staff a little bit more before we go to dominate. The last time Colorado dominated, they were a top 25 recruiter at the turn of the century, man. Right? I mean, Ryan Seacrest wasn't even born at that time. So, Colorado, you look at this schedule. Let's just start with the staffing, though. Before I even get into the schedule, let's start with the staffing, okay? You got a new defensive coordinator who isn't very good. You've got a offensive coordinator that's never called plays at college football. But, as I said a minute ago, we do NFL staffing as well. We've graded every guy who's taken the field on an NFL franchise for the last 25 years, since 2000. Pat Shurmur is a bottom 5. There have been 108 offensive coordinators in the NFL since 2000. Pat Shurmur is bottom 5 of 108. Okay? Sanders has to be unbelievable Superman to carry this team anywhere. It wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, you want to talk about dominate? I think that's projection. Let's go the other way. How about being dominated? You lose to North Dakota State. You got one of the worst coaching staffs in college football. You have one of the worst recruiting profiles in the Big 12 and college football. I think they're closer to 0-12 than 12-0.
Dave, speaking of coaches, what do you think of the new look Big 12? Now Kyle Whittingham getting into a league with guys like Chris Kleiman and Lance Leipold and Mike Gundy, and you can go on as far as the list goes. But, there's a lot of talk about the third or fourth best conference, this and that. But I think coaching-wise, it's a pretty interesting 16-team league.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's a coaching league, right? Because you only have one top 30 recruiter, Utah, and that's about it. And so the rest of it, to me, it is coaching dominated versus player dominated, like the SEC, to a point, who has 10 of the top 20 recruiters in the country. So, yeah, it's intriguing, and it is fascinating from a coaching standpoint about who's really going to put it together this year. I was looking at the schedule, I just think it's just absolutely wide open.
Now, with that, the coaching's really good. pretty much across the board. There's some intriguing up-and-comers as well, like Kenny Dillingham. But that part you said there about the talent deficiency in comparison, how much do you think that does hurt and will potentially hurt a league like the Big 12 moving forward in this expanded playoff era?
I just think just going forward, it's going to play a big factor with it. And I think there's a lot of guys. I mean, you mentioned Dillingham, dude. There's his staff. He's a long ways from being competitive as well. So, when I look at it, I just don't see any programs that are going to break into the top 25 consistently in recruiting. None of them really have in the past. And so I think looking forward, this is the way it's going to be. Now, does that mean the teams are worse? No, you're still going to get 12-0, 11-1, 10-2 teams. They're not going to have the recruiting profile. These teams are just going to have to be coached up. And what was it? I think Brett was saying this is, from top to bottom, from a competitive standpoint, the most interesting league in college football. 100% back that up, right? Because you look at all these teams outside of Utah, huge coaching continuity, really good staff, the top talent in the conference, but not blow away talent. And then everybody else, I mean, you could make a case for just about, anybody to go 9-3, 10-2. And that's what I think is most fascinating about the Big 12 conference is whatever happens this year probably isn't going to happen the very next year. But a lot of it's just going to be dependent on having continuity in that coaching staff.
Dave, which of the four autonomy conferences, in your opinion, if a team goes 10-3, maybe even 11-2, although that would be hard to not include them, will not get that team in?
That depends on a lot of things. It's just not that simple. 11-2, you're in.
Yeah.
Okay, you're in. That's the bottom line. But this may really surprise a lot of people. 10 wins does not guarantee you squat. Okay, Power 5 teams. Now we've only lost 2 Power 5 teams. We lost Oregon State and Washington State. Everybody else really has the same schedule, different teams. But Cal still has 9 conference games. Baylor still has 9 conference games. Oregon, Washington, they still have 9. Okay, nothing's changed there. And so in the last 10 years of playoff committee, and look, they said the rules of ranking aren't going to change. So in the last 10 years, we have had 6 teams go 10-2, not make the final 12. We've had 8 teams go 10-3, not make the final 12. We've had 3 teams go 10-2, go to their conference game, get beat, and fall out of the top 12. That's gonna be the one that drives people absolutely nuts. Is you miss the playoff bracket because you got smoked in a conference game like a bunch of other teams would. But that means there's been 14 times we're 10-2, 10-3 in the last 10 years. So every year, 1.5 teams, 10-2 or 10-3, are going to miss out. Now, which way would I go with that? I think a lot of it is going to depend on your non-conference schedule. Did you beat teams that are good? Because most of the teams are going to be pretty even conference-wise. And if you look at the numbers across the board, it's pretty much a mishmash. When you get down to 9-3, I think you are going to see the SEC strongly favored there. Okay. But keep in mind, folks, 9-3, there's been 36 Power 5 teams ranked 9-3 in the last 10 years. 36. 3 of them would have made a 12-team bracket. 3. So 9-3 guarantees absolutely nothing. And I'd bet on the SEC, and I think you guys would too. But as far as 10 wins, it absolutely doesn't guarantee you there. And I don't know how they are going to take a look at that because there's a lot of factors when they're ranking these teams. It's just not automatically the SEC because, look, a quality win is just as good, it gets balanced out by a bad loss. And I think in the SEC, with the talent differential from top to bottom, you're going to see a lot more blowouts. So a team that goes 10-2, 10-3, but has blowouts on their resume is going to get knocked down more than teams losing close.
Dave, when you look at the Big Ten and what they've done now that with their 18-team league, now they're very top-heavy, and they have been for a long time. If Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State regularly at the top. Now, Penn State has yet to break through to the playoff, but they seem the team that's going to benefit the most in that conference from there being 12 teams and not 4 available to go. But do you think it's a deep league talent-wise comparable to the SEC, or are they just on volume right now?
No, that's not comparable with the SEC. Remember what I said a couple minutes ago? The SEC has 10 of the top 20 recruiters in college football. 10 of them. Everybody else has 10. And one of those is Notre Dame. So the other 3 conferences have 9 top 20 recruiters. The SEC has 10. So, no, it's not a close competition. I think people like to match up Oregon and Washington and and Ohio State and Penn State and go, man, they can go toe-to-toe with the top of the SEC. Sure. But what about that 15, that 16, that 17? Vanderbilt is the worst recruiter in the SEC. They're 37th. The Big Ten has 5 recruiters outside the top 45.
Dave, you're an Oregon guy. What do you think of the Ducks and company joining? I know that's got to be probably bittersweet the way that the pack ended and ended, really kind of abruptly in the grand scheme of things. But what are your thoughts on this new era of the West Coast split and the Ducks, among others? How do you think they fend off competition in the Big Ten?
No, they're going to be fine. They're a top 5 recruiter, top 10 recruiter. I couldn't have written a better schedule for them. Seriously, if you said, Dave, write your best possible schedule for the Ducks and play Ohio State, this would be it. It is absolutely a gift. This team, if it doesn't make the playoffs, just blew this season. Complete joke on that one. But from a fan standpoint, dude, outside of going to Eugene, the next closest football game I can go to in the Big Ten is Washington, 4.5-hour drive. And then it's L.A., 1,200 miles away. Those are my 2 closest games. And then my 3rd closest is bloody Nebraska, 2 time zones away. I might as well come down and see you guys and do a show live.
Hey, you're welcome.
Anytime you want, Dave.
Yeah, we'll be here waiting for you. When you go to Lincoln, let me know. Obviously, and now as far as
that Rutgers trip is going to be awesome whenever you take that game. By the way, I don't know how many miles that is, but that's going to be great.
It's like Cal Wake Forest, although those 2 are academically, but still, just the fact that might be a game. Dave, what Dave Aranda had to do. We understand he's on the clock. He is on the proverbial hot seat, but he changed his staff up and coordinators. He's done that before multiple times based on what he's done. With him now the defensive coordinator, Spavital offensive coordinator, even with analysts with Gary Patterson, can you kind of give us an idea about the upgrade of his staff, if that's the word you would use?
That is the word I would use. Overall, in our numbers, his total staff upgrade, including the performance of last year, is up 3.61%. Look, Dave Aranda, when he went to LSU, me and my data partner were like, he's going to walk away from LSU with a ring and a head coach job. That's how good of a defensive coordinator is. Top 10 probably in the last 10 years. So if you can get a Dave Aranda defense, that would be awesome. Spavital, underrated. Totally underrated. He's a 4-star offensive coordinator. I love the hire, bringing him back to Texas. People don't realize it because Cal sucks, but he turned around a crap offense last year from really bad to at least decent. So in a league where coaching matters, I'm looking at a team that last year was 117th in defensive scoring efficiency, 113th in offensive scoring efficiency, and go, man, can they flip it good enough to get to 500? Because right now Vegas has them at 5.5. Right. And so I look at Dave and I look at Jake and I'm like, yeah, they could do it. These are the offensive and defensive coordinator combination for Baylor is very, very, very good. Those 2 guys just stand alone. Put them on any team in college football. That is an excellent combo. Now, can they turn it around enough after the dismalness of last year? I don't know. But I mean, you look at the schedule, the first 5, you're at Utah. But 4 of your first 5, 3 of them are at home, and you're playing 4 teams that you out-recruit, right? I think we're going to know if this is turned around decently enough by October 1st, right? If you get the win against Tarleton, you get the win against the Air Force Academy, you go to Colorado and get a W, we're looking at 6-6, turning the boat around, probably, like you said, probably off the hot seat, getting this thing in the right direction, but yeah, you're right. Ironically, it is an absolute come-to-Jesus year in Waco.
Dave, how have your metrics changed or added in with the transfer portal? Because when it's kind of a different thing when you're talking about guys who have already played college football as opposed to the guys who haven't yet.
Yeah, they haven't changed. In fact, I did an experiment last year. I only used high school recruiting rankings as my composite. Now, I've been doing the composite before 247 came out with it. They just grabbed the name of it and ran with it and made it super popular. But I've been doing it since 2008, and I factored in only high school guys last year. No transfers, because I think overuse of the transfer portal is bad. I don't think transfers as a whole are very good. Maybe you get a diamond quarterback, but overall, you look at the NFL, abuse of free agency, you lose more football games. Period. It's almost linear. The teams that use free agency the most lose the most football games. So I look at college football like Deion. I think he's doing it absolutely backwards. I'd rather be Dabo and not take a damn transfer than to take all transfers. So last year, using only high school recruiting, preseason, I said, I'm just going to pick the best 4-year high school recruiter to win every single game. They won 72% of them last year. That is the highest number I've seen in 15 years. Don't fall in love with the transfer portal, folks. You're going to pay your guys, pay them early, keep them on board, coaching continuity, player continuity. I think that's more important. Maybe you fill a little bit with the transfer portal, but I think if you abuse it, not only does it hurt you short term, your long-term high school recruiting gets hurt because you're not talking to enough guys.
Yesterday, Dave Aranda was with us at Big 12 Media Days, and Craig asked him a question because they've been on a pretty good little run. Because it has been it's been tough the last couple of years, and a lot of it because of what we've seen with their win-loss record. But they've been on a pretty nice little run, and they have some new coaches that are doing a hell of a job, like Keenan Hall, et cetera. And Craig goes, "Why the uptick? Why is recruiting got into a nice little run?" And he did not blink, Dave, and said, "We're paying our players. We're paying the players."
Free agency.
He's like,
Stop using.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Stop using the word NIL. You're embarrassing everybody. NIL is for somebody who promotes a product, right, off of their name, image, likeness. They're an influencer. If you're just paying a player to play football, that's called free agency. Call it what it is. Quit messing around with this. Don't lie to me. Don't tell me it's something else. And so, yeah, that's it. The tough thing is now, how do you manage it relative to everybody else so you are not putting your money in the wrong place? Again, I think it goes back to you don't pay a lot of money for transfers, especially everybody listening. You get a transfer down. You get a guy who is coming out of a big school where everything's shiny and everything's paid for. You take a transfer from Ohio State. You take a transfer from Oregon or Texas or Florida, somewhere where it's a perceived downgrade. Those guys are failures almost 99% of the time. Even at the NFL, you look at the NFL level, there's transfer guys everywhere, but the guys who transfer down to easier competition almost invariably fail at the NFL. So when you're looking at these transfers, give me the guy that's hungry, right? Give me the guy that wants to come up from somewhere else and compete, not the guy that's falling down.
It's always great, Dave. Tell everybody the College Football Matrix. For those who have not heard you before, or for whatever reason they've been under a rock and they don't follow you, tell everybody what business you have created and why it is so special.
Well, I do this. The radio is for fun, right? Because I love telling stories with numbers. But what we do is we staff college football in the NFL. That's what we've been doing now for half a decade. Fans listening right now, you would be amazed and not surprised at all the teams that we have helped turned around at both levels from a coaching standpoint. So it's a very small niche, little kind of thing we do. It's off-field analytics, but staffing is what we do to butter the bread.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. Always great to have you on. Dave Bartoo with us from College Football Matrix on